Here with the man, the legend, Mr. Bob Layton.
Hey, how you doing? It's
Normally,
wonderful to meet you and everybody in Amsterdam. How you doing?
normally I do an insert of applause like that.
Oh, okay. Well, shall we quiet for a minute?
No, it's fine. I was really surprised catching you here in a comic book store in the middle of Korea.
Well, you must have been even more surprised to find out that I live here in this neighborhood.
Definitely.
Yeah, I've been here for almost 3 years.
What brought you to Seoul?
Well, originally in 2023, I did a world tour where I went from country to country, and I lived a month in each country. I was in Copenhagen, I was in Poland, I was in France, I was, Spain, all over. And this was my last stop. But during COVID, I was watching a lot of K-dramas, and I found out that Iron Man is the most popular American character here in Korea. So I saved this one for last. And when I got here, the response and just the lifestyle and everything about Korea just appealed to me. So when I finished my tour, I came back, and Joey and Cleo helped me find a place to live, and here I am,
What makes Korea special?
For me personally, it reminds me of being back in New York during the 70s and 80s, during my salad days at Marvel, because here it's very, very neighborhood community. You have you go to the neighborhood vegetable market, you go to the neighborhood fish market, and everyone there, even the women that work at the CU, the neighborhood convenience store, they know you by name. And it reminded me so much of being back in New York in those days when they had a sense of community. You're European, so you have community. America, not so much. So I really loved that, and the cost of living here is ridiculous compared to being back in the States.
Compared to everybody,
everywhere. So I said, as a retirement plan, given the fact that they have incredible medical here, as well as incredible technology and great food. So I kind of just decided that this was the best retirement plan for me. So I put in for my retirement, and here I am.
But you're retired, which you're still doing.
I'm never retired.
No, of course.
You never. I made that
comic
mistake.
people.
When I sold Valiant back in the 1990s, I said I'm going to retire at 45. That lasted about 9 months. I was bored out of my skull. So no, I've learned my lesson. I'm going to do stuff until I drop dead. I'm working with Joey here on some of the projects he has going that you talked to him about, right? I'm actually considering getting back in the business and doing a graphic novel, so I have a couple ideas that I want to do if I can find the right publisher. But in the meantime, I do covers. I do covers for anybody. I just did an Invincible cover for Image.
Yep.
And as you can see here, I did Terminator for Dynamite. I did this brand new mini-series, Terminator Metal. And I got the great Alex Sinclair to color them for me. So I'm very, very happy with that. So whenever anything crops up that interests me, I do that. Plus, I'm still doing commissions from time to time, but now I'm very picky about which ones I do, because a lot of times they ask me to do stupid shit and I don't want to do it.
That's
so
nice.
now I just say no.
That's the nice thing of being retired.
Yeah, I'm gonna okay, you want me to do Aquaman fighting the Legion of Superheroes on the moon, each of them wearing a hat with a different country's flag on it. And I said, no, I don't really want to draw that. Thank you. It doesn't interest me.
But you did it all. Not all, but almost
There's
all.
not very many mountains left for me to climb in the comic industry. And I worked in Hollywood for 10 years. After I went out to work on the first Iron Man movie, I stayed out there, and I worked for 10 years doing everything behind the scenes. I mean, I wrote 6 films while I was there that all sold but never got made. Typical Hollywood story, right? And I worked in television. I did design work. I did, I did storyboarding. I did all kinds of stuff while I was there. That was a great learning experience for me as well. So yeah, I've been editor, writer, inker, penciler, you name it. I did everything but put the staples in the books.
But your name is synonymous to some really important comics.
Iron Man specifically, yeah.
Iron Man.
I'm considered the definitive Iron Man artist. Somebody got really upset because I used the term co-creator and it's not that I co-created Iron Man, it's just that I created a lot of the stuff that people know from the films that were in the movies. The screenwriter, original Iron Man movie, really just used the Iron Man run that I did as the template for the Iron Man movies. So I mean, whether they like it or not, I co-created a lot of the stuff that everyone around the world knows. So, and same with Ant-Man and a few other characters. So, and the Valiant universe. I don't know whatever's going to happen to that, but
We're going to talk about Valiant in a little bit. I got very pleasant memories of Valiant from the beginning. And
so do I.
It was. But first, let's get back to your Marvel work. It's going to be the most asked question and most hardest to answer I can imagine. Do you have a favorite?
In terms of Iron Man,
Yeah?
Oh.
Or in terms of any other superhero work?
You want my standard answer for that? I attack everything I do with equal excitement. I don't think I've ever done a job where I didn't try to do my absolute best. Are there things that stand out? Well, the readers decide that, not me, right? Obviously, the Demon in a Bottle saga is like what I'm known for the most, But Doom Quest was another thing that really near and dear to my heart, because that was a story I actually came up with when I was 11 years old. And I did it on notebook paper, like blue line notebook paper. I wish I had saved it, But I remember during one of our plotting sessions, I told David Michelinie the idea that as a kid, of, returning Doom and Iron Man to the days of King Arthur. And he loved it. He goes, well, we should do it. And then, the rest is history, as you know. So never throw ideas away. You never know when they become useful.
When you did all your superhero thing, and then we're going to make big leaps, then Valiant came up. How can you tell me a little bit more about how Valiant came up and how did it work?
Well, Valiant was kind of an exercise. It was kind of a stop-start kind of thing. Originally, though, this is really funny, because I was talking to Frank Miller about this in Japan when I saw him in December, and he didn't even know this, that originally Valiant, before Valiant, Steve Mazarski, who was the publisher, right, met Jim Shooter at Classic Media. And Jim had been the former editor-in-chief of Marvel. And Steve had this idea, and he had gotten venture capital to finance it, to do, this is in the 1980s, to do Marvel on Ice, the musical. And I swear it's true, okay? And this is before any of the Marvel characters were popular, okay? I mean, other people knew who Spider-Man was, right? But can you imagine the Hulk out there ballet ice skating, like, it's a really dumb idea. So of course, nobody wanted to do it, so instead it was kind of like, they said, well, we have all this money, what are we gonna do with it? And, it was Jim's idea to start a comic book company. Jim had tried his hand at creating a new universe at Marvel, and that was not as successful. I was always the idea guy that he went to, so...
The new universe, right?
Yeah. Not the most successful thing that he'd ever done. So he brought me in, basically to try to help him create a line of new characters for, because he had been at Classic Media, he had attained the rights to Magnus and Solar and Turok. So, but they wanted to create characters that obviously were property of the company, so that's where I came in to basically create, Solar, not Solar, but Exo Man of War and Archer and Armstrong and stuff, so forth and so on. So that's kind of how it all got started, but they got sidetracked because Steve and Jim had acquired the rights to Nintendo and wrestling, WWE wrestling. So for the first year, that's what they decided to make, and they were just total disasters. I mean, you couldn't give the books away. I mean, they were just terrible. And so the company kind of took a beating on that, but we were able to secure some more money from Triumph and then finally get the superhero line off. So, and that's what we did. And then, as you know, it was a huge success. In '93, we were Publisher of the Year in America, so in North America. So that's was a huge accomplishment.
And when you look at Valiant now, what do you think? Was it a good decision for you to sell it?
Well, we didn't have a choice. This is one thing people don't understand. When Acclaim came in, because if you understand how venture capital works, Triumph, who owned us, they wanted out. They were making $30 million a year during the speculator boom and stuff. So they had from a $4 million investment, they had already gotten $100 million out of this company, right? So by any investment standards, that's a good deal, right? But venture capital is a short-term thing. They didn't want to be in the publishing business, so they put us up for what? They told Steve and I that we had to sell the company to find, the highest bidder, and unfortunately, it was Acclaim. They wanted to, they were licensing all their characters for video games, so they didn't have properties that they actually owned. So they at first they went to Image and tried to buy Image, and Image, we're rebels, go away. We don't do that stuff. We don't work with corporate scum. And so they decided to come to us, and they acquired us in '95. So we didn't really have a choice in the matter, but they way overpaid for us too, which was the nice part. I think we were estimated to be. They didn't do due diligence. We were estimated to maybe worth 35, 40 million. They paid 65.
Boom.
Yeah. So which eventually came back to put them out of business because they kept writing that down, and as the industry started to collapse, they kept writing down that debt. Eventually, they had to put it on the books, and but I had gotten out a couple of years beforehand, but by '97, I think they were out of business.
But Valiant is still after COVID. They had a little bit of a start-stop thing.
Well,
but
yeah, somebody acquired the rights, and they were publishing for a while, but they had decided to ignore the original stuff and just do all new stuff, which I don't think those hardcore Valiant fans cared much for, from the look of it, unfortunately. But I mean, they had good people there. They put out some good product. I didn't follow. I used to go up there from time to time because Fred Pierce, who was my VP of manufacturing, it was now the publisher of New Valiant. So I would go up once a year just to remind them that they came from where they came from originally, and have a pizza party with them. It was fun while it lasted.
do you ever see yourself returning, or is it closed book?
To Valiant?
Yeah, to your characters.
Oh, well, no one's asked me.
That's strange because
no.
nowadays, with all due respect, nostalgia is a thing. People always go back.
No, and I know that there are where I just got done traveling. As you know, I did an 8-country tour, and Valiant, it was huge. It's still hugely popular in Europe. So no, I mean, I think they're now they're actually licensing the character out to other publishers, like Alien Books or something is now publishing them or whatever. They don't, after COVID, they shut down their offices and started working virtually. From my understanding, I mean, I still talk to Fred Pierce. I just talked to him 2 days ago because I had to wish him a happy Passover. But yeah, I don't really know what's going on with the Valiant characters. I don't really keep up with it. I'm not a nostalgic guy myself. I'm always looking forward. I'm always looking to what the next thing. Joey has some stuff going on here I think is really interesting. He probably told you about. And I told him that now that I'm back from my tour, that I like to get more involved with it. So.
And the Hotel Bethesda, I was really impressed with it.
Well, yeah, and with when Jim Lee was here, he and I were talking because Jim and I are both from the same school. That we look at comics as more global and not just for American audiences, and we want to try to create things that have an appeal globally. I mean, most American comics are created for Americans. You know that. Yep. You're a guy, right? It's set in America. It's it's in English for the most part. A lot of it's translated, but it's still done. And Jim and I both talk about creating product. Like I think, like right now, there's in the works, in development, is a Korean language Huntress television series. Yeah, it was something they were working on during the writers' strike. But I talked with the director and the writer here. And one of the reasons I'm holding out hope, because I think it would be one of the greatest things in the world. Why couldn't there be, a French Batman? I mean, set in Paris. With French people. I mean, why does it have the lexicon have to be strictly American? I mean, here I think. A character like the Huntress would go over really well in Korea. And of course, what would be my job? Convincing Americans to read the subtitles. It's on Netflix, right? that would be my job, and I would do my best to do that. I just think that we need to think more globally as creators, as publishers. You know, especially after traveling around Europe like I did and see what's going on, and huge fandom in Turkey and in France and in Spain. Spain just did an omnibus of my Hercules stuff. That was one of the best omnibuses. I mean, every single thing in chronological order. Marvel hasn't even done that yet, you know. But I just think it would be great if we thought about creating more global characters. You know, not just stuff for Americans. I mean, whether that's film or whether television or comics. You know, so that's kind of one of my goals as I'm looking, and I think Hotel Bethesda is one of those things that could have a universal appeal.
Yeah, because I told Joey it's that combination, and a lot of artists used it, but it didn't fall well. It is a combination of manga and Western comics.
Yeah.
That it just clicks. It's click.
And
It
did he
clicks
mention that the artist is my protege?
there. No, he didn't.
Yes. Oh,
that
yeah.
was yours.
Yeah, that's Joanne Kim right over there.
I talked to her.
Trained right here.
Oh,
by
really
me.
cool.
Yes.
Really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really before I knew her and knew you.
Yeah.
I really
Her
liked the
and
book.
Kento are my 2 star pupils right now. And you met Simone already. She
Yeah.
was my first, but she went back to teaching, so she hasn't really pursued it yet. But she's still planning on going. She's as talented as all of them.
Do you see that as your new role, like mentorship?
Well, teaching Koreans Western style drawing is the problem, because most of them have been working on iPads since they were in kindergarten. They've never. You're seeing most of these guys are drawing on paper for
Yeah.
the first time in their lives, right? Secondly, they don't understand the format, and third, because manga sets a very low bar in terms of drawing.
Yep.
Manga is really a style that's simplistic, and I have to beat the manga out of them, because, as you know, in Western publishing, it's that individual artist style that draws. I mean, you pick up a Bob Layton comic because you like the way Bob Layton renders it, and you can tell that it's done by Bob Layton, right? Not to speak to myself in the third person, but we're just using it as an example. So we buy a David Finch or a Jim Lee because it's Jim Lee or David Finch, right? But here it's kind of like everybody was drawing like everyone else, and that was the bar. It's like to draw like that and go no higher, you know. So I'm really pushing these guys to create individual style, and it's working. You know, I mean, both of them, even though they're both taught by me, both of them have incredibly distinct individual styles, and that's the thing. You got to get them to develop an ego and not be, because you've been here before. Everyone kind of drives the same car. Everyone owns the same dog. You know,
Everyone dresses kind of like
yeah,
the same.
kind of the same. Yeah. And there's that sort of conformity here, and for artists, especially if they want to work in the Western publishing world, they have to break out of that. So that's been my biggest challenge here, is teaching them how to create an individual style. So they're doing it, and it's really been rewarding for me. And so I'm always peeking over the shoulders here at Drink and Draw. Show them Drink and Draw. I'm always peeking over the shoulders, looking for the next talented person that's ready for prime time, and that's kind of what I've been doing.
Do you get the itch of doing your own comic again?
Oh yeah, I said I've been, since I got back from the trip, I've kind of really been thinking about maybe doing a graphic novel if I could find a publisher I can live with. But yeah, I haven't done anything in a while, and it's taken me a bit, but now that I laid off for a while, I feel refreshed mentally, and I got stories I want to tell.
Because I can imagine if you are helping new talent, and I just saw some of the pictures they drew. They are from pretty good to really good.
Yeah,
you get inspired.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'd like to take one of my proteges there and kind of do a graphic novel with them, where I could write it and ink it and have them pencil it, so I still get the final word on what it looks like, but like I did with most of the comics I've done. So it's just a matter of when and where and who.
Is your original comic on your bucket list, or do you have other items that you still want to do?
No, I don't think I want to work in commercial comics because every story I hear from these cats sounds like it's a crazy place. No, I think I'd rather just do the project myself and then find a publisher. That would be easier, and just pay it out of my own pocket. To have it done. If I did it, it would be a labor of love. I'm not doing it for the money. I mean, I'm retired. I mean, I don't really need to work.
You got that sweet Valiant money.
Yeah, well, no, yeah, no, I just don't need to work.
Yeah.
So, if I did it, it would be like everything I've ever done. It's be a labor of love. So,
You are a very good friend of Joey. You frequent.
he is my best friend.
He's
yes.
your best friend. You frequent this wonderful store.
Well,
you frequent.
I teach on. I come here and I teach on Thursdays.
Yeah.
That's when I do. I come in early and teach the proteges then, and then the crowd shows up, and we every week. And what we do with the drawings, the more professional ones, we sell and to raise money to help local charities. Cleo keeps the money together, and we do things to help with community centers locally. So I feel like we're giving something back.
But surrounded by comics, do you keep your finger on the pulse of what's happening with Marvel, DC?
I let the kids tell me what's going on. I can't read these things anymore. I mean, I haven't read a comic. I can't tell you when. It's like I can't keep up with it or anything like that. And the fallacy is they always presume that I am like them. But from the early days I started as an apprentice to Dick Giordano, I got rid of my comic book collection the day I started working professionally.
Because you know how the sausage
Because
is
Dickie
made?
told me, there's a famous story I tell where I was sitting on the train and Dickie was reading, he's in his suit, we're going to continuity, he's reading the New York Times, and Bobby Layton, teenage Bobby Layton, is sitting there reading a comic book, and he takes it out of my hand and he says, "Young man, what is your intention?" And I said, "Well, what do you mean?" He goes, "Is this going to be your job or your hobby?" He says, "Because if it's going to be your job, you need to find another hobby." Because he said, if this is all you absorb, you'll never bring anything new to the game. He goes, the really good creators are the ones that draw from the outside world, and he said, if I'm going to teach you, and he knew that what my potential was. He said, you need to find another hobby. So I became a sports fan. So I sold my comic book collection. So I don't own any comics. If you come to my apartment right now, you'll be hard pressed to find any comics there. Not that I hate comics or anything like that. I've just never taken my inspiration from it. And he's right. Everything that's in here is somebody else's impressions, two-dimensional impressions of life. And if this is all I absorb, how can I bring Demon in a Bottle? How can I bring Doomquest or anything new to the comic industry? So I've always read outside of comics. When I needed reference, that's what the editors were for, to give me a reference if anything was connected, or we had stories that continued in another book or there was continuity things. That was their job. So, but I've never been that like hardcore fanboy.
That's cool.
I'm sorry.
No. That's not the answer I was expecting,
okay,
but it's cool.
Yeah.
You do covers. What's your process? You did a great Catchaman cover.
Oh, thank you.
I'm just gonna sell it. You need to sign it for me, please.
Okay, I will do that.
You did the Terminator stuff.
Yeah, it's hard these days because the covers you remember most from me being a Marvel cover artist or whatever.
Oh, I remember one of my first Marvel comics in the Netherlands.
Mm-hmm.
They had a superhelden serie, and they called it Superheroes.
Yeah.
And they just picked up some classic Marvel stories, and one of them was the Hulk beating on Iron Man, I think.
Oh yeah.
The one, and that as a kid I was 12. I went like, oh, wow. And the great thing is,
he's dating me, isn't he?
no. But the strange thing is they imposed it.
Yeah.
They made the cover smaller.
Oh,
And when I
okay.
saw the original, I went like, whoa.
Yeah. Well, the trouble now compared to then, and this is one of the exercises I had my proteges do, is we did situational covers based on the stories. But they work so close to the deadline now, they never know what the story's going to be by the time they have to solicit the book. So when I got the Terminator thing, they just like, do Bob Layton, do something cool, you know? So I had to come up with my own ideas, you know, for like, you know, this was inspired by a Wolverine cover that Barry Windsor Smith did, Weapon X. And I said, you know, it's perfect for Terminator though, you know, too. So I kind of did an homage to that. This was one of those things where, what can a Terminator do that a human can't? Well, stare at a blast, a nuclear blast, right? So I had him looking directly into the nuclear blast for the cover. But there are no longer situational covers. Like, you know, Demon in a Bottle was a situational cover. I mean, but most of the Marvel stuff was the first line of a novel that made you pick it up. I don't know how many covers I bought, you know, just because of the cover. Made me want to see what was going on the inside. So one of the exercises I did with them, I said, pick your favorite comic book, and I said, do a situational cover, you know, different, because nowadays they're all pinups pretty much.
Yeah.
And you know, it's all fine and good, but you know, that's the most boring thing in the world to draw for me. You know, I like that first line of the novel.
Do you have any, and return to the bucket list thing, do you have any covers that you need to get out of you?
Here's the thing, this is my bucket list. I only have one. In my 50 years in comics, I've never drawn a cover for DC Comics.
Whoa.
Never drawn. They've never allowed me to draw a cover.
And with Jim being your one of your best friends?
I know. I have never, yeah, because even Jim said I was one of his influences, but I have never drawn a cover for DC in my entire career. I have inked covers. I have written DC Comics, but I have never actually drawn a DC cover.
What character would you like to draw?
I don't give a damn. I mean, just give it to me. Let me do it, just so I can scratch it off the bucket list. I don't care. I don't care if it's Brother Power the Geek. I will do it, you know, happily. But it kind of always bothered me that they never allowed me. I don't have a pencil rate at DC. Can you believe that? 50 years, I don't have a pencil rate at DC. And I don't know why, because, you know, I was a standard Marvel cover artist for years, you know, but DC has never let me draw on a cover.
And even with your relationship with Jim, you don't go like,
well, I know Jim is not the kind of guy who gives assignments. Jim is the president of the company. His job is out there making deals and being the front of the company. His job.
But maybe you should call, hey, give that guy a cell.
I don't want to do it like that. I want to do it on my own merit, you know, not call in favors. You know, it's like, look, if I call in a favor to Jim Lee, it's going to be bigger than that, all right? You hear that, Jim? You know, you still owe me breakfast too, by the way. So, yeah, no, I'm going to do it on my own merit, but it's like, yeah, I've done covers for Image, I've done covers for Dark Horse, I've done covers for you know, Dynamite, I've done indie covers, everything like that. The only thing I haven't done is DC.
Really cool. Mr. Layton, thank you for your time.
Hey, listen,
time.
it was great. I'm sorry I missed Amsterdam this trip, but I'll get you guys on the next one, okay?
Really cool. You got an invitation. I will show you Amsterdam.
Thank you. So let me sign these now.
That would be really cool.
Okay,
Thank you.
here we go. You are tagged.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.